All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of this Dana White's Contender series show that me and Dog will be doing this season. We didn't do it last week, couldn't do it, but now going forward, we're going to be doing the show every week, probably on Sundays, as long as we can keep it going. Couldn't do this past Sunday. My brother got engaged, all that. Great things. But now, time to break down some fights. Dog, how are you feeling about this card?
Nothing like a mega juiced Dana White's Contender series card. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean the lines are absolutely crazy, and I already made one line-based move that we'll talk about, but we can hop right into the card. First fight is a banger. To me, it's kind of reminiscent of the Kavanaugh-Ho matchup, where you just get two really good prospects facing off, and we have Billy Brand versus Cody Haddon. Brand 5-1-0. He's 28 years old, 5'6", and I'm pretty sure he's at Team Alpha Male, if I'm not mistaken. And I could be wrong there, though. Is he?
No, he's not.
Where is he at?
I have no idea. He's at some gym in California, though.
Oh, okay.
And he's not an alpha male guy.
Word. And then Haddon 6-1-0. He's 25. He's 3 years younger, 1 inch taller, and he's got a 69. Let's call it a 70-inch reach. Dog, what are you thinking here?
Oh, what do I'm liking? Yeah, I mean, I guess the early action on Brand was warranted at like the plus 170, plus 180 range. Breaking down these guys outside of the market. Haddon, coming from Australia, younger guy. I kind of like it. I kind of like his game. I went into tape thinking that he was just kind of a brute on the feet, just kind of coming in, swinging bombs, and without much of a process. But I tend to think he has a little bit more process than I originally thought. I definitely think he has more process than Brand, which Brand is hoping just kind of stand at range and have like a kickboxing fight. I do like his Muay Thai and his counter striking though. But I do feel like, in terms of the volume edge, especially with how Haddon throws combinations, so probably, he should pull away on the volume a little bit. The issue is Brand's countering ability is really, really good. Like, he does a great job at slipping and pulling, slipping and countering, and his kick game is good. His defense is good. His range is good. He's definitely the more technical striker of the two. So I was hoping to get to like a Brand play at plus 175, plus 170 range, but I just am not really, looking to fade Haddon just because I feel like with his game, I feel like it's a bit better suited for MMA, his boxing style with how he closes range and goes for takedowns. And, I just think he can mix it up a little bit better than Brand can. And I like his ability to pressure on the front foot as well, where Brand will kind of, in my opinion, he's more happy to just kind of pressure and counter, where I feel like Haddon just has a little bit more, I don't know, he just got a little bit more oomph to his game, in my opinion. So I think the line's warranted. I think Haddon should be the favorite, but even at 60%, like where the line sits now at BetOnline, like minus 155, I feel like that's about where I would line it. It's hard for me to get 65% because, I just haven't, I just can see him getting countered big, like big by Brand. But I do think he's the younger guy. He's the bigger guy. I like his game a little bit more. I like his boxing a little bit more. I like his jiu-jitsu a little bit more. He can take the back, obviously, over bumps and stuff. I haven't really seen much of that from Brand, but from what I can see, I'd favor Haddon. I just kind of think he's a little bit, more well-rounded, I guess would kind of be the way to say it. And I just think I give him the volume edge too. So, I lean Haddon to get the win. There's some props that I'm interested in. I'm not going to give them out because they're still like low liquidity and stuff like that. So I don't want to, give out a prop and somebody looks at it and then all of a sudden I lose money, which is all as that's all I care about at the end of the day. So I'm going to lead Haddon as a pick. I think he wins by decision though. I know the total has been like an interesting topic for people this week, like the over, the under. Over's taken a lot of steam. I get it. Both guys seem really durable. But man, I don't want to pay minus 225 on over 1.5 in like a Contender Series fight when I think both these guys crack. So yeah, keep me off that. I do think they're both durable, but I don't know. There's I think they're going to be better totals to bet on than that.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as a lot of that, even especially with the totals. It kind of also feels to me like the Kavanaugh Ho fight, where both guys are pretty durable. If anything, Kavanaugh, has been hurt, but they seem to both be durable. A lot of people felt that the over was the move or a decision on whatever side you liked. And then we got a nice early knockout. And I think both guys here can also finish each other. I think that Haddon's slight favorite makes sense. I was hoping to get Brand at like plus 180, and then I would have been down plus 170-ish. I would have played it. I ended up taping it too late. That line was gone. And then I thought maybe people would keep playing Haddon, but they didn't. It looks like a lot of people are on Brand, and I get it. I like the Muay Thai style. I think he has more weapons with the knees and the elbows. I like his forward pressure a lot. I think if he can back up Haddon, that could work for him. I really can't tell who the better grappler of the two of them is. I mean, I've seen Haddon taken down more. One fight was Ursig. We all know that one. That's fine. It's Ursig. The other one was that fella. He's like, I can't tell if he's good or not. I don't remember the dude's name. He's like the tall guy with like the long hair.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's 8-2 now. I think he's one of the better guys in Eternal.
Yeah, he's not bad, but he took Haddon down too. Not for long though. So I feel like maybe Brand's a better offensive grappler, but again, I really don't know. I've seen both guys hit takedowns on lower level competition. Neither of them does too much with it. Like you said, Haddon can take the back. Brand doesn't really hunt for subs like that. My main issue with Brand and why I wanted like something like plus 170, plus 180 if I was going to do it is I think his defense is actually pretty good when he's trying, but the problem is he stops trying constantly. Like even when he's losing, when he's fighting Peyton Talbot, and it's a sort of competitive fight, but he is kind of getting his ass beat. And he starts dropping his hands. Like, why on earth would you do that? Like, you don't want to do that against Peyton, and you don't want to do that against Haddon either, in my opinion. So that's kind of a red flag. I think that Haddon hits harder. I think Haddon has better output. He is the bigger guy. And yeah, and thinking that the grappling's about even, I got to lean with Haddon, but I don't really want to touch the line right now. I think it's about accurate. If Brand goes back to like plus 170, plus 180, I'd play it. If Haddon goes down to like, I don't know, minus 130-ish, I would probably play that too. Let's see what we got going on in the chat real quick. We got Pirate over here. You already know who the hippie is. Why does the he's dropping one soon. Haddon sprawling is way better. Yeah, I can see it. Like I said, I mean, the two guys who took him down are pretty good. But we can move on. Next up, we've got a Couch Warrior podcast favorite coming back. We got Cam Rowston versus Torrez Finney. Rowston 8-2-0, 29 years old, 6'2". Don't have his reach, but probably around something like Finney's if I had to guess. Finney 8-0, undefeated. He's 25 years old, 4 years younger, 5'8". So he's going to be, I can't even math. That's what? That's 8 inches taller? No, that's 6 inches taller. I don't know. Regardless.
Bro, he is not 6 inches taller. Hell no.
I was about to say, regardless of what that number says, if anybody has seen the face-offs or hasn't, make sure you go look. It's crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen
it's like you versus the guy she told you not to worry about type shit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the closest I could think of is when Zara Fern fought Nunes. Like, I feel like that was similar because I remember looking at it.
Dude, Rowston's way taller than 6'2". He looks like he's like 6'4", 6'5", honestly.
Yeah, he's really tall, and Finney is not. And I'll start us off here. I'm partial to Finney. I've definitely got some Finney bias. I mean, just when taping him the first time he fought in the Contender Series was just hilarious. And then he came out there, had a decent performance, got rocked, came back, got the finish against a decent guy in Panfarov too, and then goes back to the regionals, has a fight against what's his face, Tyson Jeffries, and just knocks him out with like the sloppiest overhand right I've ever seen. Just knocks him out flat. I have interviewed Torrez Finney, so again, a little bit of a bias. He's a really, really cool guy, one of my favorite guys to interview. But, you know, I look at the fight, and Rowston, I'm not quite sure what he does that well. He's at City Kickboxing, and, like, I guess you can make an argument he's pretty well-rounded because he can do both. Like, he seems pretty confident in his striking. He seems pretty happy to go to the grappling. I don't know how well to rate either because he's doing it against really poor competition. I think it was him who his last opponent was like 49 years old when they fought. He's like 51 now, but he was 49 years old. Like the competition's horrible. So yeah, he's doing well at range. He's got nice combos. He's taking these guys down. He's doing decent work on the ground. But I don't know what to rate it because he's doing it against really, really poor competition. Like the only time he fought someone decent was like Jacob Malkoon. And I think there's one other name in there that I'm not remembering. But in the Malkoon fight, that was early on in their careers, early on for Malkoon. And I thought he did a decent job with the takedown defense. Thought he did a decent job getting back up. So it's possible he's a decent fighter. It's just really hard for me to tell. I think he's going to be the cleaner striker. I feel like that's pretty clear off the tape, at least. Like, I love Finney. He's an awesome guy, but his striking isn't very good. It's just these flurries that he uses to close the distance and big overhand rights. Like, there's not much of a process, really not that great. And then there's a chin concern too. You know, Panfarov does seem to hit hard, but I don't know if he's the hardest hitter ever. And Finney was really wobbled there. And I could see Rowston, you know, again, I don't think he's got crazy power, but he seems pretty accurate. And if he's at range, just landing nice, clean, straight shots, I can see him hurting Finney. But what I think is most likely is Finney just runs in there throwing wild. If he survives anything that comes his way from Rowston, like a knee or whatever, then he's good to go. If he gets him up against the fence, I think he's going to take him down. Being tall is like, it's good in one way when you're being grappled because you can tripod really well. Like when I wrestled, I hated wrestling tall people because they would just tripod and I couldn't get them down to the ground. But also, like, his legs are right there because Finney is level with his legs. He's so short that like he doesn't have to level change. He just has to charge forwards and wrap his arms around. And I feel like he's going to do that. So I feel like Finney wins. I kind of think it comes later on in the fight. So instead of laying -3, whatever on Finney, and I don't really want to bet on Rowston, I'm going to be looking at that over 1.5. I was kind of hoping that it would stay plus money. Right now it's -105. So I'm just going to wait it out. I'm not rushing to play it because I can see Rowston catching him. I could see Finney catching him or subbing him early. So I'm not going to force anything. If I can get the plus money back, I'll play the over 1.5. Otherwise, I'm going to pass. How about you, Doug?
Yeah, I mean, I think you broke it down as needed. My opinion is everything kind of just feels accurate here to, you know, for you know, to keep it short. I mean, Finney should probably be a massive favorite. Just massive physicality edge. You know, it seems like he'd have like a massive grappling path. I will say though that I do think that Rowston has pretty good jiu-jitsu and a pretty good get-up game. So I don't think he's like lost if he gets put on his back here. I just think if Finney's doing what he tends to do, which is wrist ride on the far side and just use his physicality, that Rowston could be in trouble, especially when they hit the mat. On the feet, you know, you broke it down, you know, perfectly. I just think Finney needs to get inside and get into range because I think Rowston does a good job at using his long punches and knees and kicks and layers it all in well. I mean, he's a city kickboxing guy at the end of the day, but he has no defense. He doesn't use like he doesn't use a guard at all. His head doesn't really move that well. Like he doesn't really slip and counter. He does pull and counter a little bit, but yeah, all in all, I just feel like Finney's just gonna and I don't think he has a ton of power either. So as much as like we do see, you know, Finney getting rocked in the Panfarov fight, I feel like as crazy as that, I feel like Panfarov has more power than this guy with the hands.
It seems like it.
Yeah, like I think he has more power with the hands. So I think it's like it's got to be like a knee in the clinch or like a knee on a takedown entry that puts Finney out, and that's really outside of that, maybe like a front choke or a guard sub. I really find a hard way to see Rowston's path in this fight. To be honest, I mean, I struggle to see what his win condition looks like, because I feel like Finney's going to be able to hit takedowns and grind him out. That's like the worst case scenario. So I really see, you know, a Rowston win as being like a flying knee or a knee in the clinch, or he rocks him with like a 1-2 down the pipe, or hits like a random sub, like a front choke maybe because he's so tall he could just lock up a submission or something. Outside of that, like I don't really see much of a path for him. So I do feel like the line's pretty accurate at like -350, -400. I mean, I give those type of outcomes in a fight like maybe 20-25%. So yeah, money line seems fine to me on here. And then the total, like you said, like it could go over, but man, with how bad, you know, Rowston's striking defense is, I can't do it, you know? And with some of the fragility concerns I have for Finney. It's just like big time pass. Pickham's probably accurate for the total, so plus money on the over is fine, but it just seems like it could be volatile. I mean, Finney just runs into range, just trying to kill you. So
yeah, and Sean's saying kind of what I was thinking also. Like, is it possible Finney comes in here? He didn't get a contract last time, despite getting a finish on the ground. All this talk going on about Dana and not liking the grappling no more. And in his last fight, he got a really nice knockout on the feet. I don't know about nice, but it was like really cool because the dude went out cold. So I wouldn't be too shocked if Finney came out here and wasn't shooting. And if he doesn't, then I feel like Rowston's definitely the side on the feet. I mean, if he can maintain range, it's him all day long, especially he's at City Kickboxing. He is still relatively young. You can expect improvements from the guy. But both of them are, I'd expect Finney to improve too, but I just don't know if the striking's there yet. But we can move on. Next up, we've got a really weird fight. We have Cortavious Romious versus Michael Imperato. Romious 8-2-0. He's 30 years old, 5'4" with a 68-inch reach. Michael is 12-6-0. He's 34. He's 4 years older. Going to be 4 inches taller. Don't have his reach. Start us off, dog.
I don't know. I don't know how Cortavious loses this fight, to be honest with you. Like, I've tried to figure it out in my head how he's going to lose. I always try to give reason for the underdog. And, because there's always an angle, right? But I struggle to see where Imperato has an advantage over Finney outside of maybe just like pure jiu-jitsu and maybe if he could, maybe his takedown defense is a little bit better. Like, I don't think either of them have really impressive takedown defense, but I just feel like Imperato's cardio too is suspect. So if they get into like one or two grappling exchanges and Cortavious gets out of them, it's like he's drawing pretty dead. Like, I would say almost everywhere in this fight. So yeah, outside of like a round one back take, kind of like the Bandejas fight, or like a meme heel hook or something, or like I guess his guillotine's okay. Like maybe like a meme guillotine or something, like outside of like him catching him in a submission, which I kind of find hard to believe with how physical Romious is. I feel like he could just kind of muscle out of most anything besides like an RNC, just with how athletic he is. I mean, outside of like a round one RNC or like a meme heel hook, like I really don't see how Romious loses this fight. I mean, I honestly think -3, whatever he is. When he was -320, I got to be honest, I almost bet him to win a unit, because I genuinely think he should be like 80% in this fight. I think if Imperato got into the UFC, he'd be one of the worst guys in the organization. No disrespect, but
all right.
I gotta keep it real. I feel like Cortavious should be like 80% here.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think I agree for the most part. I can't get to the Cortavious play just because I need to see where his fight IQ is at. And I've also seen him taken down, like when he got that armbar against Williams, he got taken down really easy. Maybe that's because he was confident that he can do something from bottom, but like, I don't want that, especially if I'm laying -3, whatever on him. I don't want him to be comfortable enough to go on his back. When I know how do you say it? Imperato?
Imperato.
I can say all the Russian names, but for some reason that one's hard for me. Imperato. Like the one thing he's good. I actually liked his entries on the wrestling. I think his offensive wrestling is good. I think defensively it's not good. That's why I feel like Romious could get takedowns of his own. But yeah, with Imperato, I don't like his defensive grappling. I like the offensive grappling. I like the jiu-jitsu. So I do think he can take Romious down, maybe control him, maybe threaten subs. So that already kind of gets me off of that -300. And the fact that just Cortavious isn't taking the path of least resistance. Like, he's a great grappler. He could have come out there and grappled with Tavares after he felt that power, but no, he decided to just stand there and trade with the guy. I get it. Dana White's Contender Series. Maybe he wanted to be exciting, trusted his own striking, and he's a good striker. He can probably knock out Imperato. Imperato doesn't have great striking. He's pretty hittable. I think he's a bit chinny, and I don't like his cardio much either. So I do think that Cortavious could knock him out. I think he can outstrike him. I think he could probably get his own takedowns and out grapple him, but I just can't trust the minus 300. I feel like I wouldn't be shocked if Imperato pulled something off. I wouldn't be shocked if he got a sub or if he was able to pull. Yeah, like I can only see a sub. I can't really see a decision unless Romious is really just dropping the ball. But we can move on. I don't really see what's playable there. I don't even think the sub props on either side are that good. What's Imperato's sub? It's plus 350. Like I would have wanted better than that. Definitely would have wanted better.
You probably just play sub 1 or sub 2 if you're gonna play a submission line. Like,
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna play that, just play his money line. It's like plus 270.
Yeah. If you're gonna play the sub, just play his money line. I mean, that's probably most of his equity, in my opinion. Like, in my humble opinion, anyways.
Yeah, and Kiarik's making a decent point also. Like he's 35, so they're probably not bringing him in to win.
Oh, you don't think? You don't think so?
Probably not. Probably not. Seems like they want to get Cortavious in there. But we can move on to my first play on the card. We've got Rizvan Kuniev versus Hugo Cunha. Kuniev 12-2-1. He's 31 years old, 6'4" with a 76-inch reach. Cunha 8-1-0. He's 31 years old. He's 6'4" as well. Don't have his reach. And I'll start us off here. So I like Kuniev in general. I think he's a pretty decent fighter. I think he's pretty well-rounded. He's a very good wrestler, solid control, good ground and pound, decent cardio for a guy of his size who wrestles so much, a lot of cage pushing. I think the striking is actually pretty decent too. I don't think it's amazing, but I actually think it's pretty good. He's got decent movement, good kicks, good hands, a little bit loopy with the strikes, but I think he's a solid striker and he seems to have power too. But, first off, the whole steroid thing, we usually joke about it, but like there's like pretty clear reason to believe it because he did pop for steroids in the PFL. Like he literally popped. And then you compare what he looked like there to what he looks like now, and it's night and day. Like the guy clearly stopped taking them. And that might affect him a little bit. It might affect him a little bit. Might not be as strong. And I just don't really see how Cunha is plus 500 here. It doesn't really make sense to me. Where does Kuniev blow him out of the water? Do we have any reason to believe that Cunha's got terrible takedown defense? No, I didn't see anybody like taking him down easy. We haven't really seen either guy tested that much in the takedown defense. That's why I don't know how you can get to minus 700 Kuniev. What if his takedown defense isn't that good and Cunha can get him down? Cunha, in my opinion, is more likely for a sub. I think he's got the better pure jiu-jitsu. He's a decent wrestler in his own right. I think he can get takedowns. I think on the feet, he's competitive too. I don't think he's as versatile as Kuniev, but I think his strikes are actually straighter. He's the one throwing straight down the pipe. And I think he's competitive on the feet. I think he can get his own takedowns. I think he can scramble on bottom as well. And yeah, I think that Cunha at plus 500 is worth a shot. So I did it. I did it at a quarter unit. And the other play I kind of like here, I'm going to figure out if I want to play that on top of Cunha or not, is the fight goes. It's like plus 120 now, I think. It's starting to get worse and worse. It makes a lot of sense to me. I think we're going to get a lot of cage pushing, a lot of grappling, mostly cage pushing. And I think it's just going to kill a lot of the clock. I don't think either of them is much of a knockout threat. And if a sub comes, again, I think it's going to be Cunha. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant on the fight goes. Because if I play the fight goes and then I end up being right about Cunha and his sub upside and he gets a sub, I'm not really going to profit anything. So right now I'll stick with my Cunha play and we'll see if I end up adding that total as well. How about you, dog?
Yeah, I want to be there with Cunha because it's a big line. And there's a ton of concerns with like this dude coming off the juice. And he was on a lot of juice, you can tell. So it's a big question of how how he looks, like, honestly, I thought he looked like career best against Haddon. And yeah, so I mean, obviously I have some concerns, but if he looks similar to prior tape, like he has been taken down before, I think in his one of his professional losses, I can't remember his name, I think he was a former UFC guy as well, not Stosic, but the other dude, Harris, maybe. No, I don't remember. But he was taken down a little bit in one of his professional losses, so he can definitely be taken down. But that was like 10 years ago, so I'm not sure how much I really bake into that. So if this is like a competitive grappling match, I guess you have to lean to the dog here. But I just feel like Kuna's going to look value for the most part, and it's going to end up being like a close decision to Kanaev in like many of the iterations of this fight. So it is kind of challenging to cap it because I do think I personally don't rate Cunha striking as much as you do. Like, I think it's pretty awful. Outside of like a front kick and maybe like a 1-2 down the pipe, I don't really think he wants to strike at all. He looks incredibly uncomfortable on the feet and doesn't really seem to like getting hit at all, especially in the Joinson fight, where he pretty much just got picked apart and just, didn't really have much going. And he slowed down in that fight in the third round. So I kind of feel like if this fight's 1-1 going into the third, Kuniev's probably just going to pick it up and win the third round at a pretty high clip. So, yeah, I mean, I'm tempted on Cunha because I don't think Kuniev's the type of guy who's going to cover this price. I mean, he never really does with his game. He's going to cage push and grapple and cage push and grapple. And he's fighting a guy who's, a wrestling-based jiu-jitsu style guy. Like, even if Cunha gets on bottom, like, he might just explode up. He might sweep him. He might reverse him. He might get on top. And then, if he gets on top, that's when things get interesting. So I'm not advocating for Kuniev, but obviously I think Cunha could have value. So I don't hate the play. I might get there. Line field's crazy wide though at like what 20%. I feel like you got to cap him in at least like 25% at least, like 25% at like at the bare minimum, just because he could get on if he gets on top. We don't know what happens, and he could get on top. I mean, I know that people don't think he's going to take down Kuniev, but then you're totally forgetting that this guy's like a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he could possibly sweep him. I mean, we were seeing Kuniev lose position with Haddon Ferreira, who's been an absolute zero on bottom at times. So if he's that sloppy in the grappling with Ferreira, I know Ferreira's big, but in my opinion, I feel like Cunha and Haddon Ferreira, if they had a jiu-jitsu match, it wouldn't be too competitive. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some value on Cunha if you're looking into hit a fight and thinking, damn, this guy's losing position a lot to Haddon Ferreira. And he was on hella steroids. So if he's losing position there, he could lose some position here and get put in some not too advantageous positions. So I don't dislike the play. So I agree with you. But the GTD, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I feel like we do GTD though. I feel like it should be honestly favored to go the distance.
Yeah, it might get there. I mean, the limits are still low and money's coming in on it, but it was like plus 130 a few hours ago. Now it's plus 120. I feel like once limits open up, it'll go one way or the other. I don't know what the big boys are waiting to play.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get if the total will move to like a 2.5 because the over's taking so much steam. I wouldn't be mad at like a pick'em over. I mean, I feel like a pick'em over 2.5. I would probably like a pick'em over 2.5 there, a lot actually.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
We might get one. We'll probably get an alt total on DraftKings or an alt total on 365 or an alt total somewhere. I wouldn't mind an alt total over 2.5 to be honest.
All us New York boys have is Bet Online. I don't know why, but literally none of the books give like DraftKings, FanDuel. We have it here, but we can't bet Dana White's Contender Series.
What the hell?
It's so annoying. The one time I can't hit openers, it's like karma for all the years that I was hitting openers. Now I get smoked every week. By the time I get to the lines, I'm looking at Torrez Finney minus 375.
It'll make you sharper in the long run, I'm not impressed when somebody touts their opener ticket on DraftKings on Twitter. I could care less. Good job.
I feel you. All right, we are up to our main event. We've got Pytlik versus Andreas Gustafsson. Pytlik 9-1-0, 35 years old. He's 6'1", don't have his reach. Gustafsson 10-2-0. He's 33. He's going to be 2 years younger, 1 inch shorter, and he's got a 74-inch reach. Why don't you start us off, dog?
Of all the underdogs to bet, this is the one I like. And it just so happens to be a 35-year-old that fights once every blue moon. So that's kind of what we're grasping at this week. And I'm really tempted to just say, no. I might not have any bets on this card. Maybe like a Romious KO poke, just so I don't feel like I didn't, do anything this week. But man, I kind of like Pytlik a little bit. I like his Thai boxing. I watched all his tape. He's actually not the worst like defensive grappler either. I saw him scramble pretty well in his submission loss. And to be honest with you, like Berg isn't really that great of an offensive wrestler. Like I don't based on what I saw from Pytlik, I don't really see him having much top time takedown upside is control. Berg's control is not great anyway. So, in my opinion, we get like a grindy, scrappy, cage push, clinch, striking fight where I think that Pytlik could have a lot of value because Gustafsson's so damn hittable. And, at the end of the day, I know he's super durable, but if you go back on his record, man, and I watch a lot of these guys he's fighting strike, their striking's not that good. Like, the dudes Luderbach's a good striker. I mean, for sure. But they grappled a lot in that fight. It wasn't like a kickboxing fight, which I expect this to play out to be. I mean, he was getting taken down there a bunch. So if I expect this to play out as a kickboxing fight and Gustafsson's super hittable, I don't really rate a lot of the guys he's fought in terms of like their striking, and he's still getting his nose broken to 9-6 guys that have been KO'd like 7 times and going to war with guys he shouldn't be going to war with. I mean, to be honest, Pytlik is starching the guys that he should be starching in a round in 3 minutes. And, Berg's going to war with them. So to be honest, I do think there's some value on Pytlik. I think, he's obviously at a hardware disadvantage. He's obviously, there's obviously a lot of questions on him too. Just with his career in general, like he's 35, but dude, Berg is 33 too. And he's taken a lot of damages in his career. If you watch his recent fights. So I get there's not a lot of questions on Pytlik here, but dude, Gustafsson's taken a lot of damage. He's 33. He's been doing MMA a lot longer. And he's fought a lot more fights. He's been in a lot more wars than Pytlik. Pytlik's going out here and starching most of these guys. So if anybody has more miles on the tank, I think it's Berg. And I think we're kind of really overrating his resume. I don't think he has an MMA professional win that I'm really that impressed with, to be honest with you. So if we're thinking about it in terms of strength of schedule, he's fought the better guys. But to be honest, I'm not really impressed with anybody he's beaten besides his amateur career, which is irrelevant to me. That was like 9 years ago. Like 8 years ago, he beat Christian, or 7. He beat Christian Leroy Duncan when he was like, what, 21? Who cares? This dude was 30, almost like 30 at the time. So yeah, I think this line's all wrong. Like I think Gustafsson should be like maybe 60%, not minus 300. I mean, the dude's way too hittable to be minus 300 in my opinion in any fight, unless you're like just fading all the question marks on Pytlik. And when I watch the tape, I see a lot of really good skills. He's a good Thai boxer, man. He's got good kicks, good punches, good combination. I mean, he's going to light Gustafsson up on the feet. The big question is obviously his durability, because Gustafsson's going to put him through hell, if he is going to win this fight. But I think at the line, it's justified with the amount of level of skill I see on the Berg side, and the amount of skill that I do see on the Pytlik side. I think he's got skills, man. And at the end of the day, I'm willing to take that shot at less than 35%. We're nearing plus 210, so right around 30% now. At 30%, I got to take that click in what seems to be like a volatile striking fight that seems to be a war. Give me the dog.
Yeah, I feel you. Going into this, I didn't think I'd like Pytlik just because I didn't even really know Gustafsson. I just saw all the hype about him, or everybody talking about his bloody war that he went to. And then Pytlik, I looked into him, 35 years old. I saw that he literally has like 5 minutes of fight time since 2019. Didn't really know why he was out. So that was all kind of like, all right, I guess Gustafsson's probably going to be the side. And then I watched it, and I tend to agree with everything Dog said. Like Gustafsson, his main attribute, like his best thing, is that he's just like relentless and he'll keep moving forward, and he's reckless and aggressive. And I guess he's got some power, but I don't think he's some super deadly one hit knockout power kind of guy. And I don't like the striking, really. I don't think he's very clean at all. I think Pytlik seems to be the cleaner striker. It seems to be the guy with the straighter punches, and who at range I think is going to have more success. Gustafsson, he's going to have to put Pytlik up against the fence. He's going to have to back him up like he does every fight. And he's just going to have to try to break him. But I feel like Pytlik can catch him. I think he can catch him up against the cage. I think he can catch him at range. And I guess my concern is kind of the grappling, because I feel like Gustafsson can go to it if it's not going his way. He's got decent wrestling, and I don't really like Pytlik's grappling. I don't like it defensively. Now, the last time he got out grappled, we're talking about 2019. So it's entirely possible his takedown defense has gotten better. We have no way to know. But again, I just don't think Gustafsson's wrestling is that good. So I wouldn't be shocked if Pytlik could keep it up on the feet. And I agree with you. He's a guy who's taking a lot less damage. I mean, Gustafsson went to war with the guy the fight everyone was hyping up, where they're like, oh, the bloodiest fight I've ever seen. It was against a terrible guy. Like, the dude stunk, and they went to war. Like, they were going at it like back and forth, and the guy had his moments. It was a good fight, like a competitive one, and it shouldn't have been. That guy would never sniff the UFC. Were you gonna say something?
No, I'm just nodding along. I'm agreeing with everything you're saying.
So yeah, I'm starting to think that Pytlik is a side at plus 210. I think he probably is a side, and I'm gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait it out. I could live without a play on him because I'll be really stressed out until the fight starts because of all the question marks. But I have a feeling people will keep playing Gustafsson. There's all this hype behind him. Everybody just hears about the bloody war and is like, okay, take my money. I'll parlay him. And I'm thinking if I can get Pytlik like plus 250, that would be even easier of a button to press. So we'll see what happens.
That's why I'm waiting. Like, I haven't seen anybody really bullish about taking him yet. So I'm waiting. I mean, at the end of the day, there's obviously question marks about him, and that's why the line is what it is. But if what my eyes tell me, skill for skill, if I'm looking at this skill for skill, this is a competitive fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's all I'm thinking about at the end of the day. The one fight he got submitted, like, he got relentlessly grappled for several rounds at a time, and he was constantly getting up and getting taken down and getting up and getting taken down and getting taken up. And he was bullied in the clinch a little bit, which is like my biggest concern here, is him just being out, hardwared by Gustafsson in the clinch, which is obviously like his biggest upside in this fight, in my opinion, because that's just where I think he will have an advantage. So, and obviously the hardware too, right? The dude's super durable, man. I mean, he's like hardly ever rocked, hardly ever really wobbled either. But like I said, I don't really rate a lot of the guys he's striking with either, like, I don't know. I mean, I rate Luderbach as a striker, obviously, but they didn't really like bang it out like this could end up being. So Luderbach was getting takedowns no problem. So
yeah. What do you think about the over?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this earlier. I think the over is good because I think the over is good because if Gustafsson is getting his game off, I think hopefully it takes over 7.5 minutes to break Pytlik, type of thing. Like, he doesn't really run through anybody. I mean, he ran through the last guy he fought with like a well, I'm going to call it a meme, but like a behind the ear overhand, that just kills somebody. But outside of that, he's not really like running through anybody at all. At least not on this level.
Yeah, that's kind of why I like the over, because I feel like there's going to be a ton of cage pushing. My only concern is, like, I kind of wouldn't be shocked if Pytlik just sniped him. I feel like that's a possibility too. Like, early on, if Gustafsson just running in, he is durable, but I wouldn't be shocked if Pytlik just knocked him out, to be honest.
Yeah, he might just have like a granite chin, to be honest. Like, I watched a lot, and it's just, I like rarely ever see him. I've seen him buzzed a couple times, but like I barely even see the dude wobble. But Pytlik's really crisp on the feet, so he might let him up early if he's not having success. So it's in my opinion, it's one of those things where it's like, this underdog's plus 210, but he could have like huge favorite upside if he just lights this dude up in round one because he's so damn hittable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for me to pass up.
Yeah. I'm looking at the Pytlik money line. I'm looking at that over. We'll see. It's plus 110. I kind of like it, but got to think about it a little bit. But that's all right, guys. That's it, guys. That's 5 fights. That's Dana White's Contender Series Week 2. A lot of chalk, and I am looking forward to next week a little bit more. Malcolm Wellmaker is fighting another guy I've interviewed before, and I think that dude's a stud, so I'm hyped to see him fight. But thank you guys all for listening. Dog, you got anything you want to plug before we hop on out?
No.
Don't you have a show you've been doing?
We're all, well, oh yeah, we just dropped the way past that Fight Factor breakdown for this week. I'll be honest, it's pretty like low energy because this UFC card, I mean, I just don't know how much I can give in terms of like, betting angles and analysis. It seems like a lot of stuff that's really hard to get an angle on unless you're really trying. And sometimes if you're trying, you might be trying too hard and find something that's not there. So I tend to only look to things that I can see. And if I can't see it, I'm not going to bet it. So put that in the Bible.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be doing my UFC breakdown tomorrow, guys, the usual time, 9 p.m. A ton of fights to talk about. The tough finals will be on it. An additional fight will be on it. I'm going to try not to do any spoilers. My show starts like at the same time as tough, though. So going to have to figure that part out. But I will be breaking down those fights as well. And there's so many regionals this week. There's the road to UFC. Did you know?
Come on. Did I know?
Of course you knew. I didn't know until today. That's why I'm asking. I had no idea. They don't advertise that stuff at all. It just
pops up on you. But I was ready. I was prepared as always. But yeah, LFA this week, PFL. KSW for all my Polish people out there. My homeland. We are going to war in KSW. So I'm always excited to watch KSW. If you're watching this show and you've never tuned in to a KSW card, just tune in. It's awesome. They're awesome to watch.
Yeah, one of the better regional promotions for sure. But all right, guys, let's head on out of here. Thank you all for watching. Peace out and good luck this week.